Good morning. It's Monday, the 14th of June. I'm back in the rig Nook on what is going to be another hot, sunny day, and a parcel to finish unboxing. Of course, I've got a nice hot cup of tea. I've already been into this parcel once. I'm going to fish out the other book and complete the unboxing. So, pull this open. And what I've got is Frontier Space Player's Handbook from DwD Studios. And I've already looked at this and I've already highlighted how this front cover is very reminiscent of another role-playing game from the 80s called Star Frontiers, which was TSR's first science fiction role-playing game. Now, and I mean that in the sense of space opera role-playing game. There is Metamorphosis Alpha, which came out in 1977, and that's a science fiction role-playing game, but it's kind of different. This is basically, more of a classic science fiction game. Okay, so what we've got is Frontier Space, the Referee's Handbook. Frontier Space. A referee is many things: host, writer, actor, and judge. While players play, you have to do everything else. It's almost like work, and it isn't for everyone. But you're different. You like the job. It's a big job to do, and your toolkit should stack up to the size of your job. The Referee's Handbook is the essential toolkit for the Frontier Space role-playing game. While it does contain rules for action, adventure, and combat, it's full of so much more. A wealth of game preparation tools accompany this rulebook. Inspiration is contained herein. Add design next to your games. Design security systems and corporate installations to infiltrate. Customize characters, weapons, robots, vehicles, and starships. Design your own species and creatures. Build a campaign setting of your own or flesh out the one provided. Generate star systems and planets to explore. You just add imagination. So that's all quite a strong blurb. I don't think it's basically necessarily the best written blurb, but it's sort of like, here's what's in the book. And it's definitely for you. So inside, it is black and white and clean and tidy. It came out in 2017, and I'm just basically with the Player's Handbook. I was quite impressed by how that looked. That was nice and it looked good. The art was decent. You could see that they tried to produce as good a looking a role-playing game. Given that they weren't doing a full color one. Most role-playing games today is a colour, certainly for most of the actual sort of like big tier publishers, but colour takes a lot of investment and time. So, and that's not to denigrate the effort put into this. I'm not saying that the lack of colour is a bad thing by any means. So, we start off with game guidelines, talking about player characters and their moral code. We'll talk good versus evil, robots and moral code, earning basically DPs, essentially, which are the equivalent of experience points, loyalty benefits. Again, these are role-playing tools they're talking about here. And again, feeling this sort of like this has got a lot to talk about. So there's a little bit less in terms of illustrations, whereas the Player's Handbook was a bit more. Okay, basically, here's what you get. Here's what exciting. This is the book for you to sit down with as the referee and start going through. I'm going to psionic abilities, which say talking psychometabolism, telekinesis, telepathy. So just those three. Okay, fair enough. Basically, the thing is, it's sort of like, in essence, Star Frontiers was sort of like TSR's answer to Traveller, but wasn't quite as popular. It was quite well supported, and it was quite a nice setting if you wanted to like a space opera kind of, ray guns and blasters kind of thing. And again, some people like that can be fun as well, because that's what Star Wars is in essentially. We're talking about NPCs, so referee characters. So we've got in here Again, there's not quite so much as sort of like when I'm going through, because essentially every time I do I'm doing an unboxing, I'm flipping through the book, seeing what's interesting, what captures my eye, and sometimes it doesn't always work. There's not always something there that goes, oh wow, or oh that's interesting. I'm so just sat here leafing through the pages, and again got a table for hazards and toxins there. And again, yes, I can definitely show that to you. Not necessarily all that interesting. Some people, and then things like breaking things and repairing things. We have guidelines to healing, nice bit of illustration there, sort of classic medbed kind of device illustrated. And this is, again, like Star Frontiers, this is a Centaur game. And when we go on to then we get on to actual types of adventures. So we have investigations. So this is much more text heavy in comparison to the the player's handbook. All right, okay. So planetary adventures, travel, space travel. I think that's a little bit odd. Essentially, so basically, here's the act of investigations. It's not talking about it's not actually talking about adventures at all. It's just talking about investigations. Here's what you do when you investigate a situation. Then we go on to space travel, planetary travel, and we talk about combat. Again, there's a bit of artwork there. Robot combat, vehicle combat, starship combat, of course. And basically, that's played out on a hex map. Got a bit of illustration there of starship combat. It's all right. I think that's okay. It's not a particularly fantastic piece of artwork there, but it's workable. And then we do actually have an example of starship combat here. And basically, any good role-playing game should have examples of the rules in play, because sometimes actually getting to read about the rules being used is a better teacher, because it's doing essentially show not tell. So here we go, spaceship combat. Basically starship versus pirate starship in an asteroid field, and you can see the maps there. Extensive section on technology, dealing with everything specific firearm models, specific model robot models, and so on. Again. And does it same specific model vehicles, and I think that's a nice touch, essentially, because one of the things one of the things you can do is with a science fiction role-playing game essentially is you can world build through technology, and if you commercialize the elements of that, then you're also world building. It sort of goes back to that James Bond style of writing, where everything is named and specified, and it automatically kind of begins to build a world around itself. Now, one of the things, and we're moving on, so we come on to specific models, spaceships, and one of the things I didn't like in the player's handbook is you've got spaceships but no deck plans, and here we go. Example deck plan, one possible design for a light transport ship. And that's sort of like the Millennium Falcon, sort of, because essentially you've got the cockpit out here on a side pod, and then you've got this extending arm up here, and it's sort of like you almost feel there should be another one there, but that would be a bit too close. So yeah, I would have liked more starship deck plans, I have to be honest, but then any science fiction game with starships always needs deck plans. And then we've got rules for creating alien life forms, quite extensive. A list of creatures. And again, we've got different, more alien species there. So, quite a number actually. Then we go on to adventure preparation. Basically talking about locations like a large mansion or a mining complex or man-made wonder. So classic fight of along basically a big dam like the Hoover Dam or something like that. And then basically area objectives and obstacles and lots of things in here. Basically adventure subplot results. You can just roll up sort of like your adventure and just tailor it to that if you wanted to. There is a table of those, and then and basically got a guide at the end. Basically, it's a step-by-step process to create your adventure and then putting it all together. And then we go on to installation generation. So we've got floor plans. This is quite nice and simple, easy to use. And again, tables for creating their details, and that's quite short, but I mean you could have done a whole book on that almost. Then master villain generation. Again, it's kind of like it's pulp origin to the game, because master villain is a very pulp kind of role. And then creating henchmen and minions and so on. And then lastly, of course, you go on to section generation. Again, excuse me, I'm suffering a little bit from hay fever. Basically, so it's not only essentially okay. Here's the process how you do it. Then we've got an example. And overall, I'm sort of like nicely comprehensive, I think, in terms of treatment of its science fiction. So, creating all its details, and you're doing the same for planets as well at the end here, with, and it's talking about referee guidelines. Again, it's all been for the referee, but you've got basically a guide for the referee and inspiration. So whether it's space battles, space horror, and then it's you're talking about the different types of hard science fiction. So hard science fiction, alternate history, apocalyptic fiction. So it's sort of supposed that it can do those things as well, but it kind of falls back on that. I would say feeling of the cover of the Player's Handbook, which is space opera, and that's sort of like that's classic pose from the front of the box for Star Frontiers, where the crashed spaceship down on the planet of Alternus. I think it's basically with this. I'm quite impressed by that. It's got a nicely comprehensive treatment of its genre of science fiction role-playing game. A nice companion to the Player's Handbook, the Referee's Handbook. And I think essentially, if you weren't able to get hold of a copy of Star Frontiers, whether through a reprint, and you wanted something perhaps a little bit more comprehensive than those books are really, this would be perfect choice. Essentially, if you were looking for a Star Frontiers retro clone, this will be it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching another unboxing in the Nook. If you've enjoyed this, please do click the like button down below. And if you've got any comments or feedback, do take the time to read those. And I do appreciate you taking the time to respond. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings here in the Nook, which you'll get to see me with essentially a parcel and one or more books, and nice hot cup of tea. But then please do subscribe. I do appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, and I will be back again soon in the near future with another unboxing in the Nook. Bye for now.